Well, good day, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Albino Rhino Beer Review. Today you have the Rhino, and we're looking at a beer from May's edition of the Amazing Clubs box. So Amazing Clubs, I was given this as a gift. They used to be about $60 a month for the 12-pack, and it would ship across Canada. So if you're from Saskatchewan or anything like that, and you want to try some Ontario craft beers, you want to get a 12-pack, they do deliver to Saskatchewan. It is currently about $71 a 12-pack, and for Saskatchewan prices, that's actually pretty on par to go out and buy 12 different, 12 craft beers. You get 6 different beers, 2 of each, and delivered right to your door. So this is one of the ones that came, and it's usually 2 per brewery, 3 different breweries. This is from Macleans, and we actually were talking about Macleans recently. But this is Macleans Craft Ales. It says since 1979, and I know that Mr. McLean, was brewing way back when. He was brewing with George Eagleson and all the other beginners of the craft beer movement and the beer movement in Ontario. However, Maclean's as its own, I don't think they've been around since I know he was making some Maclean's beers at Wellington while working for Wellington. I don't even know if he still is the brewer for Maclean's or if it's one of his kids or something. But this is Maclean's Light, which is an American light lager at 4.2% alcohol by volume. However, this can says 4.0, but everything online says 4.2. With the Fairness at the Pumps Act, you can go up or down by a certain amount. Anyway, here we go. We have the flyer, the frosted mug here from Amazing Clubs. Who writes the frosted mug? Anyway, Maclean's they're in Collingwood? So they must be contract brewing, because Maclean's used to be, Peterborough or something like that? But this says Collingwood. Many years ago, Charles Maclean developed a passion for 2 things. By day, he loved riding motorcycles, and by night, enjoyed drinking a great beer. So in 1978, he decided to take an epic journey and traveled overseas to ride a Norton Commando through the beautiful English countryside. After months of experiencing the best ales of England, Charles found a nearby pub that not only gave him a job tending bar, but also introduced him to the craft of brewing beer. Once home, Charles began brewing his own ales. His passion flourished, and he became one of Ontario's pioneering independent craft brewers. Again, he was working... from what I remember in my interview with him way back when, he was brewing for other brewers at that time. As other small breweries came and went, Charles continued to follow his heart and taste buds. This eventually led to what has become his signature ale, the very same one that today bears his name. So, what we got from him in this, okay, so we have the write-up for the light lager here. Maclean's Light Lager is, as you would expect, a light, crisp, and refreshing lager that can be enjoyed alongside almost any type of food, although it does shine when paired with spicy foods. I'm very, very, very hopeful that this is going to be if there's one thing that sets us apart, it's our ability to produce balanced, quality craft beers. 45 years of constantly striving to improve will do that. Ideal for any occasion, Maclean's Light Lager offers an easy drinking journey, celebrating the art of simplicity, where we balance natural ingredients to craft this crisp, refreshing lager. Okay, so what I was going to say there is that there is a few brewers in Ontario who are old school brewers who, if they were going to make a light lager, I would trust that they were making a light lager that was showing some restraint. Charles is one of them. Every time I've met Charles, he was showing restraint. Restraint in not throttling me, restraint in not telling me I'm an idiot or a fucking asshole or any... Restraint. He had restraint. George has restraint. Well, George doesn't have restraint. He makes smoked meat beers. But, there is so many of the old school brewers who are all up there in age at this point, who are like late 50s, early 60s, some of them slightly older than that, that would be the guys that I would go to if I was looking for a lager that had the crisp, stereotypical lager flavors. Looks good. Pretty damn crystal clear. I can see my hand. You can see my hand. Some bright white head, frothy. It would stick around long enough to at least get to the table. Sent from the can first. That actually smells like it might be what I'm looking for in a light beer from a craft brewer. Which is basically, make me a Coors Light. Make me a Coors Light with real ingredients. That's what I'm looking for. Like a Coors, a Bud, whatever. I'm looking for basic, well, I guess more like a Miller Lite, because I'm looking for more tasteless. I've proven in many a blind taste test that I can tell the difference between a Coors Light and a Bud Light and stuff like that. So I'm looking for something that's pretty much just yellow water. That's what I'm hoping for. Why would you pay for that? Because sometimes you just want a beer. And you want that more traditional beer flavor, and you'd like it to be natural, and you'd like it to be supporting a company that is entirely Canadian. And I know that I don't have a problem supporting the big guys as much as some people are like, why would you? They offer a lot of jobs across the country, a lot of jobs. So I don't have a problem putting money into their coffers, but I'd rather put money into the small guys if I can, because that money is usually reinvested entirely into the country instead of going elsewhere. And that's really what it comes down to. It's whoever makes the best beer is who makes the best beer. I don't care. I don't care whatsoever. However, I want to know that I'm getting something that I'm really going to enjoy. Like no scent at all out of the glass. And that crisp, slightly sweet, slightly wet cardboard type of scent out of the can. I'm really excited about this. This is probably going to be so tasteless that I'm going to do a dance. Cheers. Holy fuck. That's what I want. When it comes to a light lager, that's what I want. That right there is exactly what I want. I've had one friend tap this in. He's given it a 3.5 out of 5. I've technically had 2 friends tap it in, but one of them works in the beer industry, so he didn't give a mark at all. He's also somebody that's usually against this type of beer. And he tapped his in August of 2019. My friend that gave it a rating was November of 2021. Who knows if this beer is the exact same as either of those. Other than that, it's also been tapped in 287 other times at 3.34 out of 5, or like 6.68. There is a little bit of hop bite, but it's at the very back, and it isn't anything offensive. It's kind of the types of hops that you would expect in a lager. It has that like earthy English almost bitterness. And I mean, Charles is very good at making English ales, and that's kind of what you're getting out of this. Oh, excuse me. Slight sweetness, slight breadiness, a middle that's pretty easy, and then that slight earthy bitterness comes in. That is a beer full of restraint. That is the proper lager. The fact that this should have been in the Canadian Brewing Awards category for light beers. And if this really should have won over some of the beers that were in that category. This is exactly right down to a T, stylistically done properly. SRMs are proper. IBUs seem to be proper. Do they have the IBUs listed on here? Trying to find it, guys. I'm trying to find it. Excuse me. Oh, God. Okay, so it wasn't Charles or his brewery that put this up, because there's more than 0 IBU. You can usually tell if it was, and this is the other thing, right? With Untapped and other such things, somebody else can put your beer up. So if you're a brewery, it's good for you to add your beer, because you can put in all the information, and the information is correct. Because if somebody else puts in the information is not necessarily correct. I've purposely trolled some beers and made them the wrong styles and stuff, just for shits and giggles, because a brewery didn't take the time to do that. You don't need to take the time to do that. You really don't, but social media is such a big thing when it comes to the brewing industry that you should take the few minutes it takes to go, hey, I made a new beer. Let's just go add it to Beer Advocate and Untapped. Maybe even Rate Beer. I only use the one. I know people that have all 3, and I'm like, fuck, I didn't even want this one. I just use this one to help keep track of things. Stylistically, this is probably a 9. Personal enjoyment, this is probably an 8.25. I really enjoy this. This is what I'm looking for. I've been looking for a craft beer that I can drink and go, hey, that's a beer. A craft beer I can sit down with my dad and have a shit ton of. A craft beer that has flavor, but doesn't have too much flavor, has the natural ingredients, and helps keep the money 100% here. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.